Immediately alarm bells went off, and instantly I was sure that's what the spot was. It's important for us to share stories on the internet. There are not many stories out there when you are first newly diagnosed. Stories help us to not feel alone. Stories also encourage the next generation to change habits. It is time for me to reapply my sunscreen this morning. Robert, thank you so much for sharing your story with my viewers. Hi, I'm Shawn, Melanoma Mom here, and this is Robert's story. My name is Robert. I am in Southwest Florida. I recently came across your channel as I scoured the internet after finding out I was positive for melanoma skin cancer the end of last month. First off, thank you for doing what you're doing. It was so nice to come across someone younger who seemed to be taking it seriously, yet also not going about it in a doom and gloom manner. It's tough to find something online that doesn't just drive your anxiety even further through the roof. Yeah, I totally get it, Robert. I'm 31 years old. Okay, first off, I'm like a decade older than you, Robert, but thank you. I was diagnosed just a few weeks ago. I had noticed a small dark spot, no larger than perhaps if someone pressed a Sharpie point on a piece of paper on the bottom of my right foot. Given the location and the fact that I rarely spend extended time in the sun, I didn't think much of it, and actually assumed I had stepped on something and this was just a blood blister that healed oddly. When I try to think back to when it first appeared, I believe I recall it starting almost looking like I'd been pricked by a needle. As time went on, I occasionally would see the spot and think, that's odd, it still hasn't gone away. I remember even wondering if perhaps something got stuck in between a few layers of skin. Again, I assumed I had stepped on something. Due to my incorrect assumption, I ignored this for a couple of years and never had a doctor look at it. And occasionally would see the spot, think that's odd, and then again move on. As time went on, the spot got darker and got only slightly larger. I started to question if this could be something to worry about, but it actually took a viral TikTok video of someone talking about how melanoma can appear even in odd places like under the nail or on the bottom of the foot. Yay for TikTok for doing good in the world and bringing awareness to skin cancer. Immediately alarm bells went off. It suddenly all clicked for me, and instantly I was sure that's what the spot was. I started looking online for images and was certain this was melanoma. I still didn't quite grasp just how serious this was. I have had no familial experience with this and only knew the basics about melanoma. I certainly knew it was something to be concerned about and scheduled a dermatologist appointment immediately. Having to move inside because somebody had started a chainsaw and someone's air conditioner unit came on. A few weeks later, the dermatologist appointment arrived and she immediately agreed with me that it looked concerning due to its location, my explanation of the changes over time, and its obvious dark appearance. She wasn't sure it was melanoma, but she biopsied to be sure. Part of me knew it was going to be positive. I even told some family and friends, I think I might have melanoma. But a week later when I got the call and it suddenly was real, I was shocked. The doctor explained it was caught early, but unfortunately I was right. It was melanoma. She continued to explain, but until the phone call was over, I didn't realize how little I had heard. It was like everything she had told me had gone in one ear and out the other. This is not like me at all. This was in the middle of my workday, so I had to try and pretend like things were okay while I worked, but found myself rereading everything in front of me, not taking anything in. I took a moment to call the doctor back and explain I had more questions. She understood I was likely in shock. The lesion was 0.4 millimeters, but the biopsy had not removed all of the cancer at the margins. She explained again that it had been caught early and the chances were low that it spread. She referred me to a surgical oncologist who would need to remove more of the area in order to get negative margins. Now the real wait began. I knew I had melanoma skin cancer. It was on my body, perhaps inside my body, and I couldn't do anything about it. Helpless doesn't even begin to describe what this time was like. Every day felt like a lifetime. Luckily, I was able to get set up with my surgeon within about a week or so. But this felt like an eternity. The wait was hell. At first, I held off from saying anything to family, but then decided I needed to let everyone know, get it off my chest, at least prepare them for what was to come. I am so lucky that I have siblings and parents that are incredibly empathetic and supportive. This was all that kept me sane during this time. I was sure this was it. I thought about everything, how unfair it was, how I'd miss out on so much, how I wouldn't get a chance to do this or that. I felt sick, physically and mentally sick. I could barely eat. I would go from dark depression to moments of distraction and then instantly right back to this horrific reality. Most everything people said was in one ear and out the other. It was hard to accept this was real, and even harder to try to accept my mortality. Prayer and family was the only thing that helped. I'm immensely blessed to have this foundation of faith and again, the support of a loving family. It was necessary. But I want people to understand, even with faith and family, I'd have moments of total and complete fear and thoughts about how 30 seems so young to die. This was the darkest time in my life, filled with emotion. I'd look at my parents while they were speaking words of support and suddenly find myself thinking I'd never have the chance to even reach their age. You think about it all. It's inevitable and, of course, understandable. The appointment with the surgical oncologist finally arrived, and to my shock, he was extremely confident the surgery would be successful, and he even said there was no chance this would have spread. He went as far as to say 0% chance. This both relieved me and also concerned me. What if he was wrong? I wondered how often any doctor says 0%. I just wasn't ready to hold up the checkered flag. I just felt it was way too early to celebrate. I wanted the surgery done and to see the results in black and white. The wait for the surgery began and back to the internal dialogue I went. Luckily, it was just 1 week away. I did pre-admissions testing at the local hospital and in 3 days had my surgery at the same hospital. I was under anesthesia, so it was over and done with in a snap. He had to remove a decent chunk from the lower part of my foot and was able to do so without a skin graft. He had planned on using a graft from my abdomen, but on the day of surgery decided he would be able to do without. This meant sutures and staples since it was tight in the area. My parents were kind enough to help me out during the recovery, and I was able to stay with them. As in the beginning, walking was extremely difficult as the pain was still very sharp. Then, unfortunately, more waiting. You have to wait about 2 weeks for the results from the surgery in order to know if the cancer was removed with negative margins from the surgical excision. This provided more time to worry and too much time to think. Fast forward to today, May 17th, 2022. I had my post-op appointment this morning. The surgery was successful! Yay, Robert! The margins were negative, and the Castle Diagnostics, which is a genetic test I asked for, showed this kind is class 1A, the least likely to recur or metastasize within 5 years. Both great news. Robert, again, I told you this in my email to you, but I am so thankful for this good news. The paperwork reads melanoma in situ, which I know you're aware is when it's caught early. I consider myself incredibly lucky that it was caught early and that something as simple as a TikTok video led me to finally say it's time to make that appointment. Of course, the doctor let me know that I am susceptible to getting another one, so I will have to keep up the skin checks with my dermatologist for the rest of my life. Daunting to hear this fact again, of course. But in this moment, these results were the best I could have asked for. Outside of the doctor saying, whoops, we made a mistake, it was a melanoma. If only, right? If only. The excision is healing well, and soon I should be able to put full weight back on my foot to walk normally. Thank you so much for what you're doing. It means the world to find someone else that understands the gravity of this cancer and yet approaches the topic with a sense of calm. The internet is a scary place. There is simply far too little discussed about this topic. God bless you, and I pray your journey continues to help others and that you remain healthy and happy. I get it. I know you do. Robert. Robert, thank you again for sharing your story with everybody. If you would also love to share your story with me, I'll pop my email address up on here. Send me a couple paragraphs. I would love to continue doing these videos through the month of May, and if we still have ones that want to get out there, I don't mind extending that through the month of June as well, because again, I think it's important for us to share our stories. It was a privilege and an honor to share Robert's story with you. Thank you, Robert. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. No, I didn't forget to share with you what sunscreen I was putting on. That is a Native Pineapple Coconut Mineral Sunscreen SPF 30, one of my faves.